welcome to Clash Me Anything. This is the show where I interview the top players and content creators around the Clash of Clans universe to answer questions that will help you level up your game. Now, we've had an exciting series so far of the World Championship Qualifiers. Today, we're going to get to talk a little bit more about the July Qualifiers, and joining me, we have some very special guests. We are getting to talk to Itsu, an amazing content creator and well-known caster. Great to have you here today, Itsu.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
And we're also going to get to talk to Zag. Now, she is a moderator for the Reddit community forums for Clash of Clans and also for Clash of Clans Recruit. Great to have you here today, Zag.
Hi. Yeah, we don't get out in front of the camera as much.
Well, you get on the camera today and we're going to have lots to ask you about. And we also have a very special interview from the team captain of Queenwalkers, Euda 14. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty because this July qualifiers, we had some amazing action, and the Queenwalkers, of course, got the golden ticket and will be moving forward into the World Championships to join ATN and Tompanai. But we also got to see Carnage Gaming, a team that maybe not a lot of people knew about, but part of the French community, and had a former MCS player, Hugo Stiglitz, on it, getting the silver ticket. But I want to know, Itsu, were there any surprises for you within this?
That's a good question. I feel like Queenwalkers maybe was a surprise in themselves because typically they're like getting really strong towards the end of the qualifiers. And then like qualifying right away. This time around though, they did this way earlier, and this with some questionable performances in the community tournaments before that. So really happy that they found their style again and their creativity, and yeah, it was just awesome to watch how they, I want to say, pretty demolished the rest of the competition and won the golden ticket over there.
Yeah, I think it's been a long time coming for them. We've been waiting to see them, I guess, rebuild that confidence since some of the adjustments with Town Hall 14. They had amazing groove last year as they made it through in the end, and then of course being the Vice World Champions for 2020. But Carnage Gaming, you know, coming in with that silver ticket, Zag, you might remember Carnage Gaming because you were there at the 2019 World Champions in Hamburg, where MCES played, won their Vice World Championship title there, and Hugo Stiglitz was one of those players that actually moved away from MCES, moved on to his own team here with this French team, and they've moved on to get that opportunity towards the end to try and pick up a final golden ticket. Are you surprised in seeing that sort of caliber player coming into the mix?
Not at all. I mean, actually, I think that's kind of really cool to see in Clash of Clans, because that's exactly the kind of thing that you see happen, whether it's, you know, professional bands or sports or things like that, where you'll see people really kind of hit their stride, make those relationships. Sometimes they go out on their own and build their own thing. So it's pretty cool to see people building those sorts of relationships and those sorts of teams in Clash as things evolve over the years.
Now, we actually talked a little bit to Euda about that, and he has a particular team that he expects to see come into the mix, but we had a great interview with him talking not only about that, but a little bit more about the World Championships. So why don't we take a quick look into our interview with Euda 14 of Queenwalkers. Welcome, Euda. Great to have you here. I want to give you a big congratulations on winning that golden ticket. You make a lot of content for YouTube right now, releasing videos and live streaming. So what is your favorite thing about making YouTube content?
対戦の動画をそのままライブでお届けするのもすごく楽しいですし、ライブの周りの反応が見れるっていうのはやっぱり他のファンたちの反応が見れるのはすごく楽しいし、そういうのをクイーンウォーカーズだったり、クラッシュオブクランだったり、僕たちのチームで検索して見つけてくれるとすごく嬉しいです。
Now, with this being your third year in the row going into the World Championship Qualifiers, do you feel this is going to be your year to win it?
去年、3年前は MCS に初戦で負けてベスト8で負けて世界との壁っていうのを痛感して、でさらに去年世界2位まで慣れて世界との距離自分たちでもできるぞっていうことをはっきり理解して、今年は本当に世界1位になれるかなってそう思ってやっています。
As far as the playing style goes, you have particular hit orders. And for you, Euda, you are the last player to hit pretty much always. And my assumption is, being the team captain, that puts more responsibility on your shoulders. But how do you handle that kind of pressure, particularly when your last attack determines the war potentially?
チームの順番、チームの攻撃順番を決めるのは企業秘密です。それで、ラストのプレッシャーっていう部分に関しては、まあかなり3年もやってきましたし慣れてますし、まあね、僕の一手でね勝つか負けるか決めるなんて最高じゃないですか。
It's got to take a little bit of pressure off knowing that you have already been through this, especially since you're the Vice World Champions. But you are going to be joining the ranks of ATN and Tomp and I, very worthy opponents here. Who do you think will also join you for the World Championships this year?
MCS がやっぱり一番濃厚かなとは思ってるんですけど、他の日本のクランにも頑張ってほしいと思ってます。
We are looking forward to seeing you playing in the World Championships again this year for your third time around, and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much for joining us today, Euda.
いつも応援ありがとうございます。すごくクラクラを楽しんでプレイすることが一番大事だと思うので、楽しくプレイしてください。
So Euda brought up some many great points and some various topics here, and I'm curious, what really impacted you the most from what Euda had to say, Zach?
Getting involved in the different aspects of making YouTube and stuff like that can really, really help people get super involved into the game, because you learn by doing. We've seen a lot of people who have their very first YouTube video, and let's just be honest, most people's first YouTube videos are not anything anybody wants to watch except for them and their friends. So that's kind of an interesting piece of advice he had about that.
Yeah, and it's something that you can just enjoy doing. I think it's just a great way to showcase the game in general and have fun with it, which is the most important thing. Now, Itsu, one of the things that Euda mentioned was his prediction for MCES to get this golden ticket. I think it's something we've discussed kind of over the past few episodes, and that's the one name that keeps coming up. And we saw Hugo Stiglitz come in with Carnage Gaming getting the silver ticket, formerly of MCES, but the actual MCES team has yet to get in there, get that golden ticket. They did obviously qualify for the silver ticket, but they're looking for that bigger opportunity. With the next qualifiers coming up, do you think MCES has the opportunity, the drive, the ability to get this done?
I think for sure, like MCS is a really, really good team. They are already part of this community for quite some time, so they have the experience as well, which is something which I feel like is always really underestimated. Like we saw this, for example, with Hugo Stiglitz, bringing just this experience to the team and maybe just like guiding them through pressure moments, for example. So things like that are super important, especially knowing that like thousands and thousands of people are watching. So I think MCS for sure has the chance of getting this next golden ticket, so I can fully understand why Euda is predicting them to get that.
Any other predictions that you have coming up that you suspect we'll see as far as teams go?
I feel like the other team right now which has a really good shot at the golden ticket is AS Monster. They are right now are incredibly good with like the meta and everything. They have like reworked their roster now and kind of like grouped up the best players of two different teams. So this is a really scary team to go against, and I think they are the other favorites, I guess, with MCS on this next golden ticket. But on the other side, you never know. Like there's so many possibilities. There's so many good teams out there. So it's never a safe bet. But to me, those two teams are right now the favorites to win this next qualifier.
Yeah, and I think one of the interesting things that we can highlight on is the fact that we have not seen the same teams coming through the qualifiers within the 3 matches. That statistic is that in every single qualifier, we've had 6 new teams, though we do recognize all of these teams. These are all pretty much staples that we've heard of within the competitive community, and of course some of our top players. But why do you think this is, Itsu? Why do you think we're seeing so many different teams mixing it up each month in a row?
I think first, obviously, we have so many good teams right now that's the first big point. But the second one is the current system with like how you qualify and get to the stage of the tournament. Like it's a single elimination, which means there's always room for an error. There's always like an upset being possible. And as already said, there are so many good teams out there. So it's like only one war, like one clan war which you mess up and you're already out. So it's really easy to mess up. And I think this is something which is really important on this road. And I feel like this is the reason why we have seen so many different teams so far in the qualifiers.
Yeah, I think I would agree on that. It's been a new system that has introduced a lot into the mix, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that and some of Zag's perspective on it, because I'm curious if any of this has come through and what the Reddit community might be saying. But let's talk a little bit more about the Clash of Clans community in general. Now, we have two people here that are heavily involved in the Clash community. Itsu from the competitive side, and of course, like in the esports world, in the casting world, and then Zag, who is working over in the Reddit forums, where we have a vast majority of people coming from like all over the spectrum, as far as competitive, casual, just completely starting up even. So I want to know a little bit more, Zag, how you got involved in Clash of Clans and as well in the Reddit community.
So I think I got into it like a lot of people. I really got interested in some of the actual history and social things that were going on, because there's a lot of drama that's happened in the Clash community over the course of time, not just competitive, but even just, you know, clans, doing things with clans. It's a very social thing. And getting involved in that, I started to make connections and whatnot, and ended up knowing the current moderators and more or less saying, hey, you guys need help. Usually people apply and are invited. I sort of yelled my way into it back in the day, but then started running events and things like that. And I mean, it's amazing. It's been, good God, 7 years. So
yeah, and Clash of Clans obviously celebrating their 9th birthday this month and this year. So it's pretty impressive to see. We're getting to the Big Ten coming up next year. So Itsu, of this 9 years that Clash of Clans has existed, how long of this have you played for, and what actually got you started and involved?
I think I played now for like 7 or 8 years or something like that, so something similar. I can't really tell the exact number because, to be honest, like I started playing the game with my class back then. Like some classmates asked me like, hey, let's join up forces and try to beat this other class in Clash of Clans. And so the social aspect is what got me into the game. Then at some point where we just like rushed, because back then like higher town level is better, right? Like that's the main
rushed.
thing. I was a rusher, yes, I have to admit. And yeah, at some point I wasn't having really a lot of fun due to my village being so rushed. So yeah, I stopped playing at some point, and then I don't know, just met up with a friend, and he just randomly asked me, hey, I know you have still Clash of Clans on your phone, so could you donate me some clan cards or troops? And that was the final judgment right there, and got me back into the game. So yeah, like I guess this one friend had a lot of impact on my life overall with this one small question.
Yeah, that's brought the legend back around and led to this amazing history for Itsu. Now, for Zag's perspective from the forums, you know, you have players, like you mentioned, from all over the world, varying skill levels, doing different things within how they're playing this game. Do you feel that the esports side of things is drawing in more players this way?
I don't know that it draws in more players so much as it gives the players who start to get a little interested, especially now that you have all the links in game to things. That helps enormously because people can find it. But I think it helps people actually kind of get a little more excited about the game once they get into the game, and I think it helps them get a little more exposure to what some of the highly competitive Clash of Clans is. Because if you look at back in the day when there wasn't anything like that, and there was some content creators, but clan wars and things like that were still fairly new, a lot of people didn't see the really high levels of competition. You didn't see the innovation happening as quickly, where if something gets developed at the higher levels, it actually gets adopted. Like the idea that you would split open your walls in the corners to help funnel the way that troops were. I think that appeared in the esports, and within a couple of weeks you were seeing it in clan wars and random wars. So I do think that the esports, what it does is it helps get that knowledge down faster, and I think it helps people get a little more excited.
Yeah, and obviously we've talked about the impact of those YouTube videos. Do you see these kinds of discussions happening on the forums quite a bit? Are people talking about those strategies? Like, is it really just developing through there and spreading around the community further in Reddit?
It is somewhat. I mean, there's so many people that are asking questions about like, so I hear dragons are really good, but I can't get it to work. How do you do this? And that's where people then start discussing some of the strategy and meta and things like that. And that's where you'll see a lot of people reference and say things like, oh, I saw, LadyB on Twitch last night talking about this particular attack as it was happening and things like that. So you do see that people are watching and they're getting some of that, and they're also teaching other people. Reddit is very text-based, so a lot of things are either links or else people giving text descriptions of how to do things. But you do see a lot more of that conversation back and forth because of that too.
And for people who are unaware of this whole Clash of Clans Reddit forum, what's the best way to get involved with it? How easy is it?
Oh, it's super easy. All you have to do is preferably have a Reddit account, although you can read it even without an account, and just go to www.reddit.com and then look up Clash of Clans, and it's right there. You just start reading threads, and anytime you want to get your voice in there and comment, go for it. Just join in the conversation. And there are a lot of people asking questions. I wouldn't say there's no such thing as a stupid question, but it's certainly okay to ask, questions at whatever level you're at. And if you're at a high level and you have a question about something very technical, ask, because someone there is going to know. If you're just starting the game and you have a question about super basic mechanics, like why can't somebody donate me their queen? Go ahead and ask that too. People might laugh at you, but you will get an answer. So
I think what's a really nice thing is, I peruse through the forums quite a bit, actually. Like, I see there's obviously the meme side of things. That's always fun to see all the Clash of Clans memes going in, but also achievements, people highlighting their achievements and their accomplishments through the game. Now, speaking of accomplishments, Itsu, let's talk a little bit more about the competitive side again and your path to becoming a competitive player. So what really led you along this competitive path?
Trying to understand the mechanics behind the game and everything got me deeper and deeper into the competitive community. Then starting with the Dark Looters back then, where it was like mainly the community events getting hosted by the community itself. And then at some point there was this World Championship announcement, and just before I played against Chief Pat in the builder-based tournament, we had a great battle, and then he DM'd me, and we were talking about like Clash Esports. Is that a thing? Is that a possibility? And at that point, then the connection was already made, and then was just like the next step, pretty much, of like getting signed with Tribe, and since then having an incredible time.
Now, one more topic that I want to talk about, because we're going to be going into a couple of viewer questions, actually goes into the whole recruitment side. Obviously there were different ways to recruit, and now we have other ways. Reddit forums, of course, has their Clash of Clans recruit section. Do you have any tips for people, Zag, on how they can start looking for their own clans? Like, what are the best tools that you have to offer over at Reddit?
Yeah, so I mean, you just mentioned the fact that some clans have name recognition. If you've got that, people come to you. If you are looking to recruit, there's so many tools out there. Reddit is one. There's a lot of different Discord servers. There's, I don't know, umpteen zillion different ways to do that. Even putting up a Twitter for your clan can kind of help sometimes. But the way to really look at it that I think a lot of people struggle with is, how do you get people interested in your clan? And a lot of people will start out and they're saying, hey, I'm looking for this, which is good. You want to make sure who can join your clan. But I think the way to really approach it is to view it like a personal ad, right? You have to say, hey, what is my hook? What is it that's going to make you interested in me? Whether I'm telling a joke or I'm putting out a cool post or whatever. And then why am I attractive? Why is it that you want to join my clan? So I think if people think about that a little harder, they'll find recruiting a lot smoother.
Yeah, I think that's, and that's exactly what was happening like in game previously. what level players you were looking for, what your goals were. Were you farming? Were you like trophy pushing? That sort of stuff. It's all great points there. Now, Itsu, you also have a way that you've recruited people within your own community. So tell us a little bit about what it's like to have that whole community side, because you've done some great work with your team, and they've even played in pre-qualifiers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, as a YouTuber, obviously you have way more possibilities. You need to do 1 or maybe 2 videos, and then you already have an entire full clan. So as a YouTuber, it's way easier, and you have a way easier chance. But I feel like even as a viewer, it's making things easier as well, because like if you're interested in one specific YouTuber or like videos of this YouTuber, most of them, as already mentioned, they have Discord servers, for example. So if you like this content of the YouTuber, it's really likely that others are pretty similar to your own style playing the game, and then you can just join a Discord server and find maybe some other clans or some other team members to join up with. So this is always a possibility, and I feel like with this content, which is obviously attracting specific viewers, like some people like to do guides, some people like to do high competitive matches, some people like to do tips for farming. Obviously each person likes different type of videos, and then based on that you can see what type of videos you like and what most likely other people like as well, and then you already are on one line with like different with like a good topic to talk about or like a clan to build up. So I think this is as well a chance where you can get in contact with people which are pretty similar to yourself.
Yeah, and we actually have some viewer questions. So speaking of connecting a little bit more through our social media, through both Instagram and Twitter on the COC Esports Twitter page, we've had some questions come in, and one of those pertains to recruiting in particular. So Zag, I've got this question for you from Savvy Styles. How do you find a good new clan when yours seems to be dying out? What do you think is the best way to find a good new clan?
That's actually a really good question, because I feel like a lot of players lose interest in the game because they stick with a clan too long that really is dying out, and they try too hard to stay with that clan. Loyalty's great, but when you're ready for a new clan, it's definitely the thing to do. And I would say just go to those places where the clans are advertising, whether it's the Discord servers or it's the Clash of Clans recruit, and look through those ads and say, hey, which one really speaks to me? You can ask your friends at school or work or something like that, but to be honest, a lot of times you're not going to play exactly like the people you know in real life. And if you're looking for a good clan, you want to find people who have that same level of interest as you. And, you know, maybe they're not serious players. Maybe they do just like to do crazy attacks all the time with nothing but goblins. That's fine. There's a clan out there. But go, you know, to those places where those clans are and search for that. And you want to look for a clan that's active. You want to look for a clan with good leadership that looks a little bit organized, because those are the clans that are going to have some longevity and that are going to get you more pulled into the game. You also want to kind of look at that clan's requirements and say, is this something I can meet? Because if they're saying, hey, you have to participate in 3 wars a week, and you're being honest with yourself and saying, realistically, I don't think I can log on that often, that is not the clan you should join, because you're not going to be there very long. The other thing you can do is look at, there's a lot of clans that are great by themselves, but you can look at clan groups. Like Itsu mentioned, you know, there's a lot of these top level clans, but they have other clans below them too that might concentrate on farming or legends attacks or something like that. And you've got the flagship clan that everybody knows because of esports, but that can also be a really great organized group of clans. Like my clan, Reddit Zulu, is part of the Reddit clan system, which of course was born on Reddit, surprise, surprise. But we do have about 50 different clans, and they all concentrate on different things. And the goal is that, you know, as a player, you can come in and kind of shop through those clans and say, where do I fit? What's my town hall level? What's my interest? What kinds of things do I want to concentrate on? And look for that clan for you. But number one, go shopping, go find out where the clans are advertising and read those ads, because any clan that's actually writing an ad, whether it's, you know, in the Discord server or wherever it is you're looking, is a clan that's going to be a little bit more organized and active, and that is going to be able to tell you more about themselves rather than just joining random clans until you find one that fits, because I'm sorry, that's going to take a really long time and might not be the most successful way for you to find the place you'd really like to be.
Yeah. Well, there you go, Savvy Styles. Hope that helps you find maybe a new clan, since it sounds like yours might be dying out there. But we've got another question here coming from Sam, 2005. He'd like to know what the most creative attack that you've seen is since Town Hall 14. So, Itsu, why don't I start off with you on this one? Because, I mean, you're between the casting that you're doing, your own content creation, you're seeing a lot. What is the most creative attack you've seen since Town Hall 14?
I mean, it's hard to tell. It's really hard to tell. I mean, we saw a lot of different attack strategies. One thing which I liked was the attack from Jojo, which was like a queen charge with a lock launcher and then some bats on the backhand, which already sounds crazy. Or, for example, an attack from Nick, which we recently saw, where he put every single troop into one army and still 3-starred on Town Hall 14. So that was quite impressive. So there are a lot of examples out there, but I feel like those two are still in my mind as one of the most creatives which I have seen in the last couple of weeks and even months.
Yeah, and of course we get to see quite a bit coming through with so many different teams playing right now in the various leagues coming from just across the world. I mean, one of the big ones is that whole clone drag that is just massacring through bases right now. But for you, Zag, what would you say is the most creative attack you've seen?
Creative is really hard because of the fact that when I tend to think of creative, I tend to think of the really out there attacks that, you're just absolutely shocked that they succeed. But I think those aren't necessarily the ones that you want to highlight because they do tend to be very, either they get super lucky or they're super well tailored to the specific base that they're attacking. Like I saw one that was mass baby dragons at Town Hall 14 that somehow 3-starred. I could never repeat that. I would not recommend that to anybody unless maybe there's an attack I'm unfamiliar with. But what I do see instead is some of the creativity that's gone into some of the new attack styles that have been developed. I wouldn't call them creative in the sense that nobody's doing them. I'd call them creative in the sense that a lot of people are doing them really well, and it's something that, whoever came up with this first, imagine the first person who came up with a queen walk, right? Putting your healers on a queen and letting her spend 30 seconds of your attack doing something is kind of amazing. And you still see people doing, queen charges and queen walks all the time. But I do have to say that I really like seeing all of the air attacks that are going on, and I like seeing the way that they're being paired with some really creative clan castles. You hear Blizzard all the time because it's super successful, but the way people have been using super troops in clan castles to achieve very specific goals, I think for me just shows a lot of creativity in the community. Even if the things that are successful, yeah, they do get used a lot, but the first person to come up with that put a lot of either trial and error or just really had that kind of, light bulb moment to say, hey, I bet this would be really interesting. Let's try this and see how it works.
Yeah, I think you have such a great point because, at first it starts somewhere with somebody who's created that, until it does become popular, and then it loses that creativity tag, but still kind of there, and, how effective it can work. And I'm just going to sneak this one in because I know Itsu's thoughts on Valks, but we just had an announcement of hit points going up on Valks, and of course, Yo-Yo's infamous. I think Boom also did it as well, but the King and Warden walk with the Queen walk and Valks coming in, also a fun thing, and we'll see if we're going to get some more creativity coming out of Valks, one of the lesser used troops right now in Town Hall 14. But that's about it for our viewer questions and for the show today. I really appreciate having you guys here. We've had some amazing conversations today. So a huge thank you to Itsu, to Zag, and of course to Euda14 for joining today. And thank you so much to the community for all the support and for the amazing questions that you have brought through. Now, don't forget to follow us over on the COC Esports Twitter page and over on Instagram, because you'll have an opportunity again to submit your questions for a future episode. But until next time, make sure to stay tuned and we'll catch you on the battlefield.